Phineas Gage, 1848. Railroad worker. A rod went through his head, and he survived. But he wasn't the same person. Before the accident, everyone said he was reliable, trustworthy. After, rude, impulsive, couldn't hold a job. So what happened? Where did he go? That's the question. And it's why we're here. When the brain breaks, it tells you what it was doing. Let's draw the brain. Let's find the part that broke. And maybe, just maybe, we'll figure out where you actually lives. Before we go suspect hunting, we need the crime scene map. The brain isn't a box of parts. It's a city, roads everywhere, traffic constant. At the foundation, the brainstem keeps you breathing, heart beating. Behind it, the cerebellum, balance, coordination. These are the foundation roads. They keep the city running. They connect to everything, but Gage's rod didn't hit them. The rod went through the front, the frontal lobe. So that's our first suspect. The frontal lobe is the brake pedal, impulse control, planning, social behavior. Break it, you can't stop yourself anymore. So is that where he went? Maybe, but he actually recovered. A little. Other parts rewired around the damage. The network adapted. Wait, that's actually insane. It rewired itself? How does the brain know which parts to use? We don't fully understand it, but it happens. The frontal lobe was damaged, but it wasn't the whole story. Let's keep looking. Why do I walk into a room and forget why I'm there? I stood up with a mission, and then nothing. That's your hippocampus, seahorse-shaped, deep in the brain. It files experiences into long-term storage. Walk through a doorway, the brain resets. Sometimes, it takes your mission with it. If the hippocampus is badly damaged, you can't form new memories. Clive Waring. He lives in a 7-second loop. But Gage could still remember. His memory was fine. So the hippocampus wasn't the break. Why do I get anxious about things that aren't dangerous? Public speaking, a text message, just existing. Why is my brain acting like I'm being chased by a tiger? That's your amygdala. 2 little almonds, right in the center. Threat detector, fear, fight or flight. If it's overactive, everything is a threat. That's PTSD. But Gage wasn't anxious. He was impulsive, reckless. So the amygdala wasn't the break either. But wait, this is where it gets interesting. The amygdala doesn't work alone. It talks to the frontal lobe and the hippocampus. PTSD isn't just an overactive amygdala. It's the whole circuit breaking down. Why do I feel like 2 different people? One part wants the cake. The other knows I shouldn't. Is that just a metaphor? Or is that actually how the brain works? The brain has 2 hemispheres, connected by a bridge. The left brain talks, the right brain feels. They work together, but one does the talking, the other does the feeling. Sometimes, for severe epilepsy, the bridge gets cut. The left brain can't talk to the right, so it starts making up stories. But Gage didn't have 2 personalities. He had one, just broken. So the hemispheres weren't the break. So we've ruled out suspects. The frontal lobe was damaged, but it rerouted. The hippocampus was fine. The amygdala was fine. The hemispheres were fine. But here's what we haven't drawn yet. The roads. How do you actually see something? Like a cup. Occipital lobe, back of the brain. Sees the color, the shape. Temporal lobe, the side. Recognizes it as a cup. Parietal lobe, the top. Knows where it is. Frontal lobe, the front. Decides to pick it up. That's the perceptual highway. And it feeds into the emotional circuit. The part that really gets me is the return traffic. Your emotional state changes what you perceive. Anxiety makes you hyper-aware. Depression dulls everything. We don't have a neat glitch for this. It's more of a theory, but it's a weird one. So here's the glitch. Occipital? You're blind, but you can still touch and know. Temporal? The shape is there and that's it. Parietal? Can't even grab it. Frontal? You see it, you know it. You just can't bring yourself to care. Different breaks. Different glitches. So Gage's rod broke the frontal lobe. The network rerouted. We think the parietal and temporal lobes took over some of the work, based on recovery patterns in similar patients. But what I keep circling back to is this. Was Gage still Gage? After the recovery, he wasn't the same person after the accident. But he wasn't the same person before either. None of us are. So what does that mean for who we are? I want to believe you is the network. The conversation between all the parts. But honestly, that theory breaks down too. Because we don't know how the conversation becomes a feeling. The quantum stuff? No, sounds like magic. Actually, wait. The idea that consciousness is fundamental makes me uncomfortable. But I can't completely dismiss it. Then again, maybe we're just looking in the wrong place? I don't know. I genuinely don't think anybody does. So that's where we're left. Gage's question is still open. Consciousness is still open. Next time, Clive Waring. The 7-second loop. I mentioned him earlier, but I didn't tell you what it actually feels like to wake up every 7 seconds thinking you just came into existence. That's a different kind of broken. We'll see how it maps. Thanks for watching. If this made you think, hit subscribe, drop a comment, and remember, your brain is broken. Let's draw it together. Over and out.